Okay, class, today we're going to be working on solving exponential equations as well as inequalities. So when solving for variables in an exponent, there's two basic cases. In the first case, what you have is you have the bases on each side that are the same. So you're going to have the bases which are the same. And then if that's the case, if the bases are alike, you're going to set the exponents equal to each other, which they did here. They set the 2x minus 2 equal to the 6, and then they just solve for x by adding 2 to both sides and dividing by 2. Well, then you're going to have a second case, and it's really important that we pay attention to the second case. Because in the second case, the bases are different. They don't start off the same. So you have to rewrite each side with a common base, with a base that is the same. And then at that point, you can set the exponents equal to each other and you can solve. So if you look over here at this equation, you notice that my bases aren't the same. Well, I do know that I can write 1/9 as 3 to the negative 2. At the point that I write it like that, now my bases are the same. So now I can set my 2x minus 2 equal to negative 2, and I can solve for x. So now we're going to practice doing some of these together. So if I take number 1, I see that my bases are the same, correct? My 5s are the same. So this means that I can just take my bases, x minus 7 equals to 2. So now I can just solve by adding 7 on both sides. I get x equals 9. So now looking at the second one, what do you think I would do there? Okay, my bases aren't the same, so I'm going to need to change that 8 into something that has a base of 2. So what would that be? That would be correct. I would have to change that to 2 to the power of 3, because 2 times 2 times 2 will give you 8. Should be a 3x minus 4. So now I can focus on my exponents, which is 3x minus 4 equals 3. So if I take my 3 over, my 4 over, I'm going to get 3x equals 7, which is going to give me x equals 7/3. Okay, now I want to do the same thing with number 3. I need to change my base to be a 4. So how can I change 16 into a 4? That's correct. That would be 4 to the second power. Well, I still have to deal with my 2 minus 2, which is equal to 4 2x plus 8, correct? So now I'm going to take my bases and set them equal to each other. Okay, so when I distribute that first one, I'm sorry guys, that should be an x on that one. Having a little technical difficulty here, but I think I can fix it. So that should be 2 minus x. I'm sure y'all were yelling at Miss B to correct that. There you go. So now I'm going to take the bases and distribute them, and then I can set them equal to each other. So my exponents are going to be 4 minus 2x equals 2x plus 8, and then I'm going to solve. So if I take my 2x over, I'm going to have 4x. If I bring my 8 over, I'm going to have, that's correct, a negative 4. And then if I solve, I'm going to get x equals to negative 1. Okay, let's look at the remaining 3 at the bottom. So now I look at number 4 and I see that my bases are already equal. So I'm going to take my exponent, x plus 1, and set it equal to 2x plus 3. So when I go to solve that, I'm going to take my x over to the right hand side and I'm going to be left with x. And when I bring my 3 over to the to the other side, I'm going to be left with negative 2. Now, looking at number 5, I don't have the same basis. And I know I can't turn an 81 into a 27 or a 27 into an 81. But I do know that I can turn this into 3 to the 4th power, because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. And I can change this into 3 to the 2nd power. But I can't forget about my x minus 1. So what this really says is 4 equals, when I distribute my 2, I'm going to get 2x minus 2. So I bring my x over to the other side, and I'm going to get 6. 2x equals 6. And when I solve this, okay, I looked at this, and I probably had a couple of you yelling at me, especially Vicky and Cameron and Dominique, that, wait a minute, Miss B, you did something wrong there. Who caught my mistake there? I rewrote it as 3 to the 2nd power. What I really meant to write was what? That's correct, 3 to the 3rd. So let me correct my mistake and take a moment to correct yours on the paper. I'm pretty sure that's the only mistake Miss B will make this whole year. It's a good thing I can't hear you right now, students. Okay, so what this really is going to be is 3x minus 3. So now when I go over and I take the 3 to the other side, I'm going to get 7 equals 3x. And this is going to give me x equals 7/3. Now let's take a moment and look at number 6. So in looking at number 6, you're thinking, okay, how can I write 1 over 25 to a base of 5? Well, you know that 5 to the 2nd power is 25, correct? So because this is under 1 and this is the reciprocal, I know I can write this as 5 to the negative 2 power equals 5 to the x minus 5. So now I'm able to just focus on my exponents, which is negative 2 equals x minus 5. And if I take the 5 over, I'm going to get x equals 3. Okay, now let's look at the second page. So we're going to look at how exponential equations can also be solved using tables and graphs. So looking at the first problem, I know that I can work this by hand, correct? So I know that I can work this problem and that I can set my exponents equal to each other, and I would get 2x minus 4 equals 2, which will give me 2x equals 6, which will give me x equals 3. So let's think about what this is saying. This is saying that if I plug this equation in and this equation in, where x equals 3, they will match up. So if you look over here on the table, you see that where x equals 3, they do match up. So this is why your answer would be x equals 3, because you're looking at where does it match up. So over here, if I were to look at it, and I would graph one line, and let me highlight what the line is so you can follow along. And then I graph the other line. I would find the point where the lines match up would be the point 3, 9 in this case, which tells me that my answer for x is 3. Now it's going to tell you also what to set your windows at. Okay, class, make sure you pay close attention to that example. I want you to go ahead and work the next example, and 7, 8, and 9. Do the by hand part so you know what you're looking for. And then I'm going to give you the first 10 minutes of class to complete the table and graph part. Well, I want y'all to have a good evening, and Miss B will see you tomorrow.